This is Duke University.
All right, Duke, are you ready to hear some pitches tonight? Come on, Duke, you can do better than that. You ready to hear some pitches? That's the kind of energy I want to hear. All right, everybody, so my name is Stephen Powell. I'm a second-year MBA here at the Fuqua School of Business. I'm also one of the co-presidents of the Duke Startup Challenge and a student co-chair of Entrepreneurship Week. Just want to welcome you all to the 2009 Duke Startup Challenge Elevator Pitch Competition Finals event. I think it's going to be a fun night for us tonight. Tonight you're going to be hearing from some of the brightest and most ambitious Duke students as they pitch their ideas to win cash and prizes. So just to put in perspective what's going on tonight, it's been a great week of entrepreneurial spirit across Duke. Really, the entire campus has gotten involved. And what we've been doing is we've been celebrating Global Entrepreneurship Week all this week. And what better way to celebrate Global Entrepreneurship Week than with an elevator pitch competition? So before we get started, I just want to welcome all the it looks like 450 people that we have here in the room. I want to welcome the audience. Thank you all for joining us tonight. I'd also like to welcome the home audience. So we are actually broadcasting this event live on the internet. So all of the Duke alums, friends of Duke, and just all the curious entrepreneurs out there can see what we're doing tonight. So thank you all in the home audience for joining us as well. So for those that are not familiar with the Duke Startup Challenge, let me just give you a little background on it. So the Duke Startup Challenge is it's a series of entrepreneurship competitions that go throughout the course of the year. It's open to all Duke students. It's open to faculty. It's open to postdocs. It is truly a Duke-wide event. And really the goal of the Duke Startup Challenge is to really create entrepreneurs and Duke startups. And the way that we do that is that we provide a platform for these budding entrepreneurs to really hone their business ideas, get feedback on that. But even more importantly, what we do is we provide meaningful seed capital to help get these companies off the ground. And so as you can see behind me, there's a check up here for $25,000. So in the course of this year, we'll give away over $40,000. And the finals event happening in April, the grand prize winner takes home $25,000. So this is big enough where a company can really have an impact on a company getting off the ground. So actually, in terms of the history of the Duke Startup Challenge, so we're giving away $50,000 this year. Over the course of the Duke Startup Challenge, we've given away over $500,000 to literally hundreds of teams that have competed in it. And just on the topic of history, you'll note this is the 10th annual Duke Startup Challenge, okay, which is a big deal for us. And I think just the fact that we've persisted this long and that this competition has grown to the size that it is and has the participation that it does, I think it's a real testament to the rise of entrepreneurship at Duke. So just a little bit more on the exact competitions that we have throughout the year. So there's 3 main competitions. The first one is the elevator pitch competition, which you all are going to witness tonight. Coming up in January and February is an executive summary competition, where Duke students submit 5-page executive summaries for their business idea. They can win money at that event as well. And then it also qualifies you to advance to the finals event where we give away the $25,000 that happens in April. So hopefully tonight, whether you're friends with somebody that's pitching tonight or you're just curious about entrepreneurship, hopefully folks will be inspired tonight to maybe compete in one of these upcoming competitions or just join us to learn more about what we do. So to give you a sense for this past week and the sort of scope that this competition has this past week. So the elevator pitch competition this year had 74 teams register and deliver 130 pitches this past week. It's pretty phenomenal. Yep. So congratulations to Duke for doing that. And really, the teams that are competing are really from all over campus, really every corner. And just to give you a sense of that, literally from Trinity, Fuqua, Pratt, the law school, the Nicholas School, even the Divinity School, medicine, Sanford, and the graduate school. All of these schools have been represented during this past week. And why are these teams competing? Because this week we're giving away over $5,000 in cash and prizes. And tonight we'll be giving away over $1,200. And you're going to help us do that. So to give you some perspective on the week, so this event is part of Global Entrepreneurship Week, or Entrepreneurship Week at Duke. And it's a global initiative that's run by the Kauffman Foundation. And the point of which is basically to inspire millions and millions of young people around the world to just be interested in entrepreneurship and really to explore their ability to innovate in this world. And the scope of which, this is happening in 70 countries around the world. There's 25,000 events happening, and literally millions of participants are engaged in this. And it really ranges everything from Snoop Dogg rang the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange. That happened on Monday. I'm not kidding, that was part of this. To panel discussions, to what you're going to witness and experience tonight, a lot of competitions. So what's been happening this past week? Let me just bring you up to speed because it's been a long, exciting week for us. So there are 7 tracks of this competition. Let me just explain them to you. So first one is undergraduate. It's basically the team needs to be led or pitched by an undergraduate. Women. So women entrepreneurs. This is actually a new track for us this year, but women entrepreneurs needs to be led or pitched by a woman. Healthcare and life sciences. Energy and environment, which is another new track for us. IT and media, social enterprises, and products and services. So you can get a sense for the number of teams that have been pitching this past week. And actually, if you look in your programs, we list all of them with a short description, 140-character description, if you want to get a sense for the quality of ideas that have really come out of this week. It's pretty exciting. So what happens at all these teams? There's 130 pitches delivered. So at each of these track events, there's been 2 winners that have moved on to the finals event tonight. Those have been selected by a panel of judges. Not all the judges wear those wigs. And Audience Choice Award, and that's going to be, you guys will experience that tonight, but in each of these events we're doing American Idol style text message voting. So at each of the events that have been happening this week, literally Monday through Thursday, we've had semi-final events, you can call them. The top 2 winners from each of those, from judges and audience choice, are moving forward tonight to tonight's finals event. So let me introduce you to our finalists. Here they are. These folks really do represent the best of the best that Duke has to offer. So in undergraduate, we have Wasabi and Know It, Win It. Energy and environment, Token Energy and Carbone. Healthcare and life sciences, we have Medici Medical Technologies and Biogenics. Women entrepreneurs, Immunodispense Pro and Optimal Surgical. IT and media, we have nationalfield.org and AdStream. Social enterprises, we have Stumpworks and the Produce Purity Project. In products and services, we have 25th Hour Media and General Nano. And let me just say, let's have a round of applause for them. Let me just say, you'll see a little bit of theatrics and drama tonight, but really, these folks are the heroes and focus of this evening, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. So in addition to these fantastic teams, you will also be hearing from our fantastic panel of judges. I'll switch over to that. And here they are. I'll just take a second here to introduce each of them. So first I'll introduce, I guess we can start with Matt. It's fine. So Matt Magaro. Matt has extensive experience in starting and developing biotechnology and medical device ventures. Most recently, he was president and CEO of Quill Medical Inc., a medical device company that he co-founded in Research Triangle Park, North Carolina, that commercialized a series of minimally invasive cosmetic surgery devices. Quill was subsequently acquired by Angiotech Pharmaceuticals for $200 million. Prior to this, he was president of Trimeris Inc., a biotechnology company focused on treatments of infectious disease. He was CFO of Athena Neurosciences, which developed treatments for neurological disorders. And it was also a co-founder of Transprobe, later named Signal Pharmaceuticals, a transcription factor inhibition company. Matt is an inventor on numerous issued and pending medical device patents. He received his BS in finance from the University of California, Berkeley. Go Bears. I'm an alum as well. Matt is also an executive in residence for the Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation right here at Fuqua. He's a fantastic supporter just of Duke and Fuqua and of entrepreneurship here at this university. So let's all welcome Matt. All right. Here we go. Next up, we have David Samuel. So Dave is a co-founder of Freestyle Capital, a startup venture capital firm. He's a serial entrepreneur and internet pioneer. Dave has specialized in software and media since 1994. In 2004, David co-founded Grouper.com, a website specializing in internet video, which was subsequently acquired by Sony Pictures Entertainment for $65 million. In 2003, David co-founded Brondell, the first American-based company to develop high-tech toilet seats. In 1996, David founded Spinner.com, the first and largest internet music service, which was acquired by AOL for $320 million. From May 1999 to June 2000, Mr. Samuel worked as vice president of technology for AOL. Prior to founding Spinner, he also worked at Oracle in their application development group. He graduated from MIT in 1994 with a degree in electrical engineering. And Dave is actually also a strong supporter of entrepreneurship at Duke. And this is actually his second time joining us this week. He was also one of the judges for the IT and media track. So thank you, Dave, for both of those nights. Okay. Next up, we have Kathy Massey. Kathy is a co-founder of Law Docs Express. She has more than 15 years experience as owner and president of Legal Resources, Inc., a legal temporary and placement service based in Atlanta, Georgia, with clients all over the United States. In addition, she has more than 10 years experience in corporate management with emphasis in human resources. She has a BA from Duke, go Blue Devils, and an MS from Georgia State University. And Kathy was also a judge for us this past week, and she's also a broad supporter of Duke in general and the Fuqua School of Business. So Kathy, thank you for joining us the second time this week. Finally, let me introduce Bill Maris. Bill is a managing partner of Google Ventures. Bill's past successes include founding web hosting pioneer Burly.com, which he subsequently sold to Interland Inc., now known as Web.com. Prior to that, Bill was a portfolio manager for Stockholm, Sweden-based investor AB, one of the world's largest industrial holding companies, where he co-managed the biotechnology and healthcare portfolios. Bill's background also includes scientific research into cholinergic. Help me out. Cholinergic. I knew that one's going to get me. Cholinergic visual pathways, cell membrane patch clamping techniques, and in vivo neuronal cell injection. Right here at Duke University Medical Center. Bill's based in Mountain View, California, and received an AB with honors in neuroscience from Middlebury College. Yeah! Go Middlebury! All right. Bill, several months ago, expressed an interest in getting re-engaged and just reconnected with the Duke community. And we thought, what better way to get him involved again than to come judge a business plan competition. So let's all join me in welcoming Bill. All right. And before I introduce Bill, Bill's going to be our keynote speaker. I just want to thank our generous sponsors. So the Duke Startup Challenge and Entrepreneurship Week would not be possible if it wasn't for the support, financial support and otherwise of these wonderful sponsors. So let me just introduce you to them. So the first is Hutchinson Law Group. They are a local law firm that have supported startups for quite some time. Inner South Partners is a venture capital firm based in Durham that is one of the leading and largest venture capital firms in the Southeast. iContact is an email marketing tool. Intuit has been supporting us by providing QuickBooks Pro to all of the winners this week. Palo Alto Software is providing Business Plan Pro. They're the leading provider of business planning software. Wyrick Robbins is also a leading law firm in this area that supports startups. HPG is Hughes Pittman Gupton. They're an accounting firm, again, that supports startups. And finally, Square One Bank is a venture bank that's just based here right in Durham in American Tobacco, actually. So I'm going to hand it over to Dan Weinstein, who's our event lead, who's going to be your floor manager for this evening.
Nibbles. My name is Dan Weinstein. I'm a second-year MBA student here at FUQA. So I've had the privilege of helping plan this week's activities as well as running the elevator pitch competitions every night this week. And I can tell you that you're on for a treat. I've been amazed every night at the quality of the pitches and the great ideas that are floating around Duke. So Steve's kind of the hype guy. Bill was kind of the mentorship guy. I'm the logistics guy. Right? So I'm gonna run the night's events, and I think the first thing I'd like to do as a logistics guy is there's a lot of people in the wings, and I still see some empty seats. So let's just take a minute if you guys wanna. This is a good time to interrupt and if you feel like being a little more comfortable, please take a seat. If you guys are on the aisles and you think you're gonna stay, move in. They don't have to listen to me. The pitchers have to listen to me. All right, it seems like everybody's settled. So I'm going to walk you through the mechanics of how tonight will work. I will call up the next presenter. They will come on stage and give a 2-minute elevator pitch. It will be timed, and there will be a hard stop. After the pitch, there will be 3 minutes for Q&A. That's also timed. It's not as much of a hard stop, so pitchers, if you're in the middle of a thought, go ahead and finish it, but make that your last thought. And judges, if you get caught asking a question, go ahead and finish it. You guys can answer, but make it quick. I'm going to lurk around here, and I will make my presence known if it's time for you guys to wrap it up. We'll take a short break in the middle, just to kind of relax our minds from this barrage of awesome ideas that we're about to hear. That's how it works for the pitchers. Audience, you guys play a couple key roles. So at the end of the night, we're going to pick 2 winners. One will be picked by the judges, and one will be picked by the audience. So at the end of the night, you guys will have a chance to text, message your vote for your pick. And that winner will get $250. The judge's choice will get $1,000. So I want to mention something, because our judges are actually so involved in the Duke community. Dave Samuel and Matt McGarrell are advisors to 2 of the teams that ended up in the finals. So to make sure it's an even playing field, they're going to participate in the Q&A, which is a great part of the show, and you definitely want to get their input. But the final judge's pick will only come from Kathy Massey and Bill Maris. Okay. All right, so the last thing, as the audience, you're going to help us with the timing. So the timing will work. So G right here is our official timer. When you guys have 20 seconds left in your 2 minutes, he will raise his hand, like such. When your 2 minutes is up, he will advance to a slide, this slide, at which point everyone in the audience will yell, "Stop!" Amazing. You guys got that pretty well. Let's just practice, all right? I'm Joe Kitchener. Hello, my name is Dan Weinstein. My life was changed when I heard about this idea that I'd like to tell you about right now. And that idea is... Stop! All right. I think you got it. Everybody ready? Yes. All right, our first speaker is General Nano.
Imagine a material stronger than steel, can conduct electricity better than copper, and is lighter than cotton. General Nano has invented such a material. Our current R&D partners in this effort include the US Navy, the US Air Force, NASA, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, General Electric, Lion Apparel, and Bose. And why are these companies interested in General Nano? We have invented the process to grow the world's longest carbon nanotubes and take those nanotubes and spin them into usable thread. And if I took one of the threads that you see behind you, held it in front of my face, and let go, it would float. But it's theoretically 300 times stronger than steel. You can imagine the applications. I'd like to tell you about one. We currently have funding from the US Air Force to look into replacing copper wire on fighter jets. Any aerospace engineer will tell you they spend weeks and months trying to save 2 or 3 pounds of weight from a fighter jet. General Nano's thread has better conductivity rates than copper and would save 5,000 pounds of weight. That would lead to increased fuel savings and increased maneuverability. And that's just one application. There are applications in sound, sensors, construction, textiles, and more. It's a very, very exciting time for General Nano. As we're looking to scale up, we're going to need about $1 million or $1.5 million of capital injection. And Bill, I think Google Partners is a great partner for us. I'd like to talk to you more about that later. Welcome. Any questions from the judge?
So my understanding, which is limited about carbon nanotubes, is that it takes a large furnace. And so can you tell me about your capabilities and how they compare to the, I think that the market is sort of cornered right now by Japanese manufacturers, so tell me about that.
So our current growth process is in a furnace that's commercially available from a company called First Nano, which is in New York. If you look on the top, your left, that's a 9-inch array that's composed of billions of carbon nanotubes. So if we took that, which we can grow currently, and put it into the spinning machine, we can grow 4 miles of thread. To scale it, we need a bigger furnace. So the funding we'll need is to actually work with First Nano to build our own furnace, which can grow 12, 16, 20-inch wide arrays to grow longer and longer carbon nanotube threads.
Have you talked to any of the Japanese manufacturers?
We have. We are talking with First Nano and some other folks. We have a relationship with First Nano, so we think that's the best option right now.
What's the competitive landscape within this marketplace?
So there are a lot of companies that produce carbon nanotubes. The difference with General Nano is our growth process. If the slide was up, so what was on the top, your top left, you can tell is perfectly aligned. They're all the same size. You can also see that in the bottom. Other companies can produce them. Theirs are really short, and they're different properties, and they're different lengths. So because we have our process allows uniformity, that allows us to spin. So that the differentiating factor for us is the thread. Other companies can produce basically carbon nanotube dust, which they can put as a composite, almost like carbon fiber, into materials, but because we can grow them long and uniform, and the way that carbon bonds with each other, the length makes a difference, the uniformity makes a difference, and we are the only company, one of the only companies that can produce this thread, and that's the differentiating factors. Instead of a dust, we have thread.
What technology do you have that allows you to do what others aren't doing?
Sure. So in the furnace we have, basically, it's again commercially available. The differentiation is in the catalyst we use to grow the nanotubes. That's the patent we have is in the catalyst that we apply on a silicon substrate to grow the nanotubes. So that's patented, and then the machine, so the machine we have up there is a machine that we've invented ourselves to spin. So those are where the differentiating factors are. Thank you.
What are your capital needs for, this is an expensive capital-intensive business?
Yeah, so we think we need about $1 million or $1.5 million, and that will allow us to produce our own furnace, and then take the spinning process we have now and make it a bigger spinning machine. So we think about $1 million or $1.5 million to really produce on a big scale. Thank you.
Great job. Up next, Know It, Win It.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Samaran Ray, and I'm a Duke University senior, passionate about math and science education in this country. Now, I'm convinced that math and science skills are the cornerstone of our national greatness and competitive future. Yet, there's no secret that we're completely falling behind in this regard. And this is where my idea for the website Know It, Win It comes in. Now, some of you as kids might remember spending hours and hours on those elementary school fundraising campaigns just so you could win that one shiny toy in the fundraiser booklet. Or perhaps you spent hours and hours on the accelerated reader quizzes just so you could win that one trinket from your teacher. Now, what if we could apply the same potential with the large scale of the internet to hone the math and science skills of American youth? Here's how Know It, Win It works. If you're a young student, log on to Know It, Win It for free and start answering math and science questions. If you answer them correctly and they start increasing in difficulty, you win more and more points. Then you can redeem those points for gifts and services from corporate sponsors. Now you might be wondering, how does the business model work? Well, it's actually quite simple. So if you're the corporate sponsor, you provide the gifts and rewards, as well as part of our revenue stream, payment to knowitwinit.com. In return, you receive large, seamlessly embedded advertisements in the style of Pandora.com and access to a large youth market, positive PR for investing in education, as well as the development of early brand loyalty among youth, which can be incredibly invaluable. Now, as far as the competition goes, there are math and science games all over the internet, but nothing that provides systematized and structured rewards like Know It, Win It will. Thank you.
So I heard this pitch earlier this week, and I like it. So it seems like there's the math and science angle, and I guess if you get it working in that market, you can also expand into other education verticals.
Right, that's right. So one of the things that I've thought about also is, for example, test preparation. So there's a lot of blood and tears spent on preparing students for state exams, as well as the SAT and the ACT. So there's a potential to expand those markets with this kind of incentive-based system to supplement education.
I'm not clear how you're originally going to draw the people to your site. How are you going to attract them?
Right. Well, one model is, for example, Club Penguin, which is the social networking site for kids, which reaches, I think, approximately 12 million young people from the ages of 6 to 14. And they got around through viral marketing. But another thing that I would do is to try to pitch this to schools and educators as well, so not just to students. So having this wholly systematized way of marketing is important.
Should be a fairly easy thesis to test. So have you done any testing?
Currently, we're in the R&D phase, and we're trying to get out this prototype and see how kids react to it. So definitely we'd want to do those focus groups and see how exactly kids respond to this incentive system.
And so what age groups are you targeting?
Right, so targeting elementary and middle school students at first, and their math and science questions.
Thanks. It looks like we don't have other questions. No? No? All right, thank you. Thank you.
All right, up next is AdStream.
Good evening. I'm Andrew and this is Brian, and we're here to introduce you to symbiotic advertising from AdStream. People like you and I face two problems. One, the ads we see are irrelevant and annoying. And two, the ads we see are irrelevant and annoying, and AdStream has the answer to this problem.
Thanks, Andrew. So the advertisers are facing some huge problems. The information they have access to is often incomplete, confusing, or both. So how do we help solve this? AdStream is like Pandora for ads. So we'll ask people what they like. We'll actually then pair that with their behavior, and then we'll give them Pandora-like controls on the ads they see. So we'll get smarter about the ads that we deliver, and we'll be able to add more value to our advertisers. We'll also give them three really important things. We'll give them great data. We'll also give them important user feedback, and finally, we'll give them access to our entire network so they can crowdsource their marketing efforts in the future. Andrew, I'll hand it back to you.
AdStream will provide ads and coupons and discounts that are targeted to you personally. And it will return revenue from what traditionally goes to websites back to you, the user. Right now, we have a team of 2 Fuqua MBAs, an engineer and a programmer, who are working together with advertising executives and Fuqua professors to help bring this idea to market. With assets of $100, funding of $1,000 would help us to build a beta prototype and bring us closer to venture funding. Thank you.
The advertising market's pretty big. Have you looked at specific vertical markets that you're going to target first? Do you have a strategy for trying to implement this in any way?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, right now, we're focusing on the college segment because those users are more interested in maximizing their time, and they tend to spend over 100 to 120 hours online or on their computer monthly.
So I've heard the thesis of targeted advertising before. It can be fairly lucrative. I guess I would object to they are annoying and irrelevant piece of it, but I do agree that they're not perfect. But I think a challenge you'll face is behavioral marketing is something that Google spends a lot of time thinking about. So tell me a little bit about how you think about behavioral advertising, and how do you get customers to opt into this? Because if this idea came up internally, that would be the big question. Consumers don't really like advertising, and so getting them to opt in and tell you how to deliver ads is a challenge.
Well, as I mentioned, we're planning to return the ad revenue back to the user. So this is an incentive-based system. And so additionally, we're operating outside the browser, which will allow us to aggregate all sorts of user information as far as internet, social networking sites, things like iTunes, etc.
If I could add too, Bill, I think one of the big things is that it'll be more like a utility. So if we can look at if you allow us to look at your iTunes account and you happen to like, I don't know, like Miley Cyrus maybe, and and she might be playing a concert nearby.
She's okay, I guess.
Yeah, astute observation. So we can let you know that, hey, tickets are on sale. And you might actually be interested in that, and it's not as much of an advertisement as it is a notification that something you'd like to participate in.
One last question, which is, how do you stop, what sort of barriers do you see to stop others, Google or any other sort of ad agency type of companies from saying, well, this seems like an approach, let's put 150 people on it and see if it works.
Yeah, so hopefully you don't tell anyone. But
your secret is safe.
Yeah, we've thought a lot about it. I think we really want to kind of go out with a viral campaign to college campuses, and also we've thought about the system by which people are able to redeem their money and trying just to actually put some switching costs into the equation for the users. So it doesn't stop people from coming in, but obviously would at least keep the folks that we get at first hopefully with us for longer.
Thanks.
Is there a possibility this could result in taxable income for these the people who receive this income back, this share?
It's absolutely a possibility, and one way we might be able to account for that is by deducting that beforehand. Before we pay out to the users, we could account for the taxes. Thank you very much.
All right, up next, Stumpworks.
Current upper limb prosthetic technology is stuck. It's stuck in the 1950s world of hooks and pulleys. Determined to resolve the problem of modernized arms that are either too heavy or too clumsy to really be useful, Stumpworks set out to create a small, open source board that can translate the electrical signals generated by your muscles into digital signals that can be used to control a prosthetic or a video game. My name's Phil Cotter, a member of the Stumpworks team, a venture that's poised to revolutionize the way that you interact with video games and simultaneously further prosthetic research. The market for prosthetic limbs just really isn't big enough to generate much commercial interest. However, the market for turning your head slightly and having the Master Chief in Halo look in your direction, or shooting a free throw in your living room and having it be recreated down to the Twitch is absolutely huge. Stumpworks is looking to use its existing and functional board to fully engage the over $621 million video game peripheral market, to use the power of open source R&D, and to provide a return in both technology and funding to other prosthetic ventures. Our plan for success is broken out into 3 phases. In phase 1, we'll market our fully equipped board to colleges and universities who are currently paying large sums of money for fairly similar signal processing equipment. In phase 2, video game developers and producers will be targeted with our refined software developers kit. And in phase 3, the video games that have been built around our refined controller will finally hit the mass market. It's a market that's proven to be tremendously receptive to peripheral-driven titles, Guitar Hero 3 being the first video game ever to gross over $1 billion. Stumpworks is currently focused on grants and loans, largely as sources of funding, but other smaller socially inspired investors would only help us to put our open source technology into more hands faster, allowing us to see initial returns and better, more immersive video game experiences, but eventually driving the conversation and innovation on prosthetics for amputees worldwide. Thanks.
Can you just tell us a little bit about your team? Is it just you?
Absolutely, no. We're our co-creators of the board, which you can see right there working, playing Guitar Hero. It was created by 2 graduate students, one who's a biomedical engineer and one who's an electrical engineer with a lot of neuroscience experience. And we also have an MEM student and a team of 4 undergrads who are focused on the business side of things largely. And also just to kind of provide a little background on the inspiration for our project, one of the co-creators, who you also see there, is a retired Marine. He served in Iraq and lost his right arm.
Do you have a patent on any of this?
No, ma'am. It's open source. So
it's open source, right.
Part of our mission is to try and get a world of innovators to look at the problem from different angles.
But in the video game world, which is so competitive, what is your unique advantage?
Our unique advantage is that for years everyone's been using their thumbs essentially to interact with the video game. So what we provide is a different, far more immersive way of actually interacting with the video game.
Have you spent any time looking at Dean Kamen's arm? I'm sure you're aware of what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Dean Kamen's DECA arm was
not his arm, yeah, his robotic arm.
Right. Yeah, right. His arm was something that we looked at, and our founder actually appeared in the same 60 Minutes episode that he was featured in, and we believe that we're attacking from a different way. He kind of eschewed the idea of using EMG, or at least that was kind of my interpretation of the way that it was presented. He uses a lot of like weight-sensitive stuff in the foot. But what we do is allow a person to just think about opening a door or something like that and having it actually work rather than having to flick a muscle to change which motor you're actually going to open or close. So it's a far more intuitive solution to the prosthetic problem, and it will also make it hugely marketable in the video game market.
You have one of the leaders in the field here in the Bryan Research Building, Miguel. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah, Miguel Michaelis. I worked in his lab.
You did?
A few
I worked next door to his lab. So, what have you engaged him as an advisor or in any way?
Tim Hansen is actually one of his graduate students, and he is the other, so I'm kind of slowly revealing who these creators are. John Cunningham is the Marine, and Tim Hansen is a PhD candidate in Miguel's lab. So we're definitely resourcing him indirectly, I suppose.
Thank you.
And I guess just the size of the product, just so I can understand.
Yeah,
is he holding it in
that
his,
is the
in
product.
his left
It's
hand
about
there?
the size of, like, if you were to set two BlackBerry curves next to each other, that's about how big we're talking in, like, its current state. But again, the idea is that it's open hardware and open software, so there's definitely room for refinement. The limits are definitely not clear. It could be shrunk. Thank you, guys.
All right, up next, 25th Hour Media.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nick Sane, and I'm the lead of 25th Hour Media. Now, imagine you're in your car on your way to work, and along with the 35 million other American commuters, you're stuck in rush hour traffic. Now, you know once you get to work that you're probably going to spend some time reading the latest articles on your favorite blogs and news sites. Now, if only you had access to that same content, but in a safe and convenient way during your daily commute. 25th Hour Media provides a solution to this by taking the text content from the sites that you select, turning that into audio using a real human voice, and streaming it straight to your mobile device. Our goal is to provide a high-quality audio experience similar to listening to NPR, but with the flexibility to personalize your news. While technology products try to do this today, computers fail to create an engaging listening environment. Our differentiator is the audio experience. We're assembling an on-demand workforce of newscasters who not only can read the news, but skillfully present it. Our superior audio quality, along with personalization, will attract listeners to this service and in turn provide a profitable revenue stream through integrated advertising. Our team is comprised of 4 MBAs, 3 of us who are also software engineers, and is being advised by a successful internet entrepreneur. We're currently building a prototype to validate this market opportunity and also talking to content providers and advertisers. In conclusion, by combining high-quality audio, personalization, and streaming delivery, we'll build a new mobile internet. At 25th Hour Media, we're going to turn up the volume on a unique audio experience. Thank you.
So who else is in the space? I think that's a question you'll hear a lot tonight, I guess.
Right, so we have a couple of competitors, and they can be divided into, I guess, 2 main groups. One is guys that are doing text-to-speech technology, and other groups that are basically trying to do personalized radio that are combining existing podcasts. And we've looked at both of those, and we think that with the text-to-speech technology, while the audio that they present is accurate and decent, we think we're trying to recreate a complete radio experience, and we think the human element of that is really important, especially given that news a lot of times elicits an emotional response. Be it either listening to an article about Duke beating UNC in basketball, or something serious about United States going to war, that needs to have a personalized touch to it, a human touch.
In order for this to be really successful, you're going to have a large network, I would think, of both the newscasters, and you're going to have a whole array of sources. How are you going to match these together and make sure that it gets delivered in a very timely fashion?
Correct. That's a great question. So I'll tell you a little bit about the first newscaster that we're bringing on board. So she's a student at the UNC School of Journalism, and we've reached out to them because we thought that would be an audience that would be very appropriate to be kind of they want to be future broadcasters, and this is a great place for them, to get practice, get their name in the door, and we're certainly going to provide financial incentive to do this. But that being said, we need a huge number of these people, and so there are about 40 accredited schools of journalism throughout the United States, as well as there's a bunch of associates programs as well that we think we can tap into. And I don't think those are the only people that need to be part of this. It really is about someone who's qualified that has a voice to do it, but growing that network is important. On the content side, we'll have to go out and partner with people. There's certainly copyright issues around this, and so we started having conversations with blogs, because I think that's the easiest place to get the content. That's where we've seen our competitors get it. I've noticed that our competitors have not been able to get guys like New York Times, but I think that's where we can really be important, because this is going to be a premium play as opposed to the long tail. Thank you.
What's your go-to-market strategy? So how do you monetize this, and how do you reach customers? Or deliver the product, I should.
Sure. So I think customer adoption is a critical thing for us, and we're talking about two different strategies. So we're going to certainly build applications for iPhones and BlackBerries and things like that. But in the short term, before we have brand recognition, is I think piggybacking on existing brands and doing kind of a widget-based approach, so that for a blog like TechCrunch maybe, that we have a widget that allows you to listen to those blogs at the same time without having to build a customer base. Thank you.
All right, next is National Field.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brendan, and I'm one of the founders of National Field. National Field was created during the Obama campaign as a tool to manage field staff across the country. Since the campaign, we've formed as a company, we brought on new developers, and we made National Field into what it is today. It's the world's first hierarchical social network, which means that the structure of an organization on National Field is the same as its structure in real life. Data and communication flow up and down the chain of command, and the best ideas are filtered to the top. On National Field, we track quantitative metrics that give organizations an idea of how they have been doing, how they are doing, and how they will be doing. We also give managers the ability to track qualitative metrics, which allow them to identify potential problems and predict performance in the near term. We visualize this data in ways that tell a story, with live maps, live charts, and live leaderboards. It's very difficult for some people to draw meaningful conclusions from looking at a spreadsheet. But with National Field, we turn tacticians into strategists. We make it easy for people to identify best practices based on their performance. All of this adds up to a culture of self-management. Staff are accountable to real data. Managers use real-time and accurate information to make decisions, and organizations operate more efficiently. Our team consists of myself and 3 other Obama organizers in their mid-20s. Our client list includes Organizing for America, which is leading the push for universal health care, the British Conservative Party, the Democratic National Committee, a PR firm, a chain of Midwestern banks, 53.com, nonprofits, and political campaigns at all levels of government. We aim to become the central hub for political campaigns, as well as an essential tool for business. Thank you very much.
So I won't ask you to disclose the number, but do you have revenue right now?
Yeah, so we will probably be in the 7 figures by the end of the year.
Over $1 million?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you just talk about the competitive landscape of who else is
Sure.
doing
So
this?
a few companies have been raising money lately in the kind of the business staff management field, like Drive Software is one of them. But the problem is they're all flat, and essentially they're just taking existing social networks like Dig and Reddit and just making them an intranet for a company. They're flat, whereas we're hierarchical and we offer a lot more functionality. In the political space, there's the voter activation network, which handles the back end for a campaign, which is the data management, and there's Blue State Digital, which handles the forward-facing website. We've kind of found a niche in staff management that we have exploited so far.
Clearly, I see the application in the political world, but I'm interested in the Midwestern banks and how they're using you and what other applications outside the political world exist.
Sure, good question. So effective organizations, whether they're political organizations or businesses, track metrics. And so we just give these organizations an opportunity to track these metrics in a more effective way and to operate them in a more informed way.
Just roughly, how are you pricing your product?
So, for example, Organizing for America is $10,000 a month. Our other clients are essentially priced the same way.
Tell me about the code base and where is it hosted, or is it what is the product?
So it's a software as a service model. We've developed the entire code base. We used a PHP framework called Symfony to get a little technical. Does that answer your question?
I can handle the technical. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are you looking to raise capital, and where are you going to apply that? Which growth markets are you targeting?
So the big thing for us is politics is our bread and butter, and we feel like we understand that pretty well. But to expand into business, where there's obviously a lot more growth opportunity, we'll need to kind of expand our capabilities as designers and developers.
Do you know, are you trying to raise an angel round or a Series A? And
so we've raised a significant round independently, I guess, from non-angel or VC firms. We're currently talking with General Catalyst partners. Chris Hughes is a good friend of ours. So that's
no, I know Chris, so that's great. Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Good. Thank you.
Can you believe that?
I was going to ask him that, but I didn't want to embarrass him.
People either loved him and came just to see him, or maybe didn't love him so much.
That's crazy.
All right, up next is Carbone.
So like any 21-year-old, a few months ago, I was sitting down reading the issue of the technology issue of The Economist and worrying about osteoporosis. So I'll get to the osteoporosis later, but in the technology issue of The Economist was a particularly new technology called the oxygen battery. And what fascinated me about the oxygen battery was that it was poised to supplant, or it will be poised to supplant, the lithium-ion battery, which is used in all of our cell phones and laptops and even electric cars. It's poised to supplant the lithium-ion battery in the next 3 to 4 years. The innovation of the oxygen battery is that it replaces all of the expensive lithium-ion electrolyte and turns it into this, and replaces it with this porous carbon electrode, literally a piece of carbon full of holes, and utilizes oxygen and electrostatic processes to actually power the battery. So I thought, man, why didn't I think of that? Well, the problem that firms face as they go to actually implement the oxygen battery is that it's a $13 billion industry, but it's also a very carbon-intensive process, and actually manufacturing these carbon electrodes is incredibly expensive. It's basically a process that requires graphite layers and nanotubes, and nanocarbon nanotubes. So that's where osteoporosis steps in. I was obsessed with the porous structure of the bone, and I realized that it would be possible to take the carbon within a bone and literally artificially petrify it, washing away all of the phosphates and keeping the porous structure of the bone and carbon intact, leaving you with a porous carbon electrode made efficiently, cheaply, and green. So that's what Carbone is. Carbone is turning bones into batteries. Our team, consisting of a fourth-year PhD chemist student and an electrochemist graduate student, and as well as a slew of undergrad engineers, is currently looking for a research and development investment to finish R&D. Thanks.
I just want to know how many Igors you plan to be hiring in the next year.
As many as it takes.
More practically, where do you what's your source of material going?
What's our source of okay? So
no, in a forecasted basis, where are you going to be able to source?
Where are you getting the
quantity?
bones? I think is the question.
Yeah, so it's based on slaughterhouses. Like part of our revenue model right now, our projected revenue model, is there's a government program that actually subsidizes startups to place in low-income areas where just so happens to be most of the slaughterhouses. So we can place ourselves in a low-income area and receive a tax credit to get off the ground and take the bones from these slaughterhouses.
So just a pitch tip. I was literally thinking about human bone because you were talking about osteoporosis. The entire time I'm thinking this is going a really bad place.
Well, it would work. It would work. But we're thinking like cow femurs. So.
I'm still thinking.
I'm curious as to the actual process involved and what kind of facilities are needed and what's your time frame from getting the bones to actually having something that's usable?
Yeah, so the time frame right now is we're looking the next 6 months to a year to finish the prototype. And basically what the process involves is baking the bone and cooking it to death. So we take a piece of bone, we put it in an oxygen bomb with the presence of some sort of magnesium or zinc or some other catalyst. Part of research and development is figuring out which catalyst will work best. And then we cook it at about 1,000 degrees Celsius overnight. And what's left is this white phosphate powder and then this black porous carbon electrode.
Horrified, but I'm not sure whether I should be or not. So you mentioned lithium ion batteries. So tell me, where do you think lithium polymer batteries fit in the food chain if lithium ion's going away?
Sure. I mean, the lithium polymer battery as well as the artificially created oxygen batteries are probably in the same boat. Like they're very efficient, they're a lot lighter, but they're also like carbon or not green intensive, and they're expensive, incredibly expensive. So yes, you may be a firm like Toshiba and you want to move into that area to capture the market, but you're dealing with something that's incredibly expensive to develop unless you're making like 4 million batteries. So.
Have you done any pricing studies yet? Do you know what your costs are going to be and what you might ultimately price your product for?
So only in like a heuristic sense. I've done a lot of research on this. Pricing wise, like it's going to end up being a lot cheaper just because of the nature of the process. The only competition for bone right now is the fertilizer market where the phosphates are. So our process actually preserves the phosphates and we're able to offset costs by reselling those phosphates to the fertilizer market. So that's a fundamental component of our revenue stream. However, like the bones itself, like the carbon electrodes themselves, we would aim to penetrate the market at just below the expensive nanotube thing. So as soon as it's a little lower, we probably capture most of the market. I don't know the specific prices because most people don't know the specific prices. It's 3 to 4 years out. So.
Up next is Optimal Surgical.
Good evening, my name is Elena Pleatman. I'm a senior studying biomedical engineering here at Duke, and I'm here to represent Optimal Surgical and our device, the Catechite. The vision of our company is to provide surgical products that allow physicians to make eye surgery safer and more effective. Our product simplifies the most difficult step of cataract surgery. Cataracts occur when the lens capsule of the eye becomes cloudy due to the aging process and impairs vision. Over 20 million cataract surgeries are done each year in the United States. Over 50 million are done each year in India and China, and cataracts are the #1 cause of blindness in the world. Cataract surgery involves making a circular incision in the lens capsule so that the contents can be removed and replaced with an artificial lens. This is currently done by using forceps to tear this circular incision, and if it's not done perfectly, serious complications can result. Our device simplifies this step of the surgery by using a curved nitinol blade to make a perfect circular incision every time, not only decreasing complications, but making the operation safer and easier to learn for young surgeons and surgeons in developing countries. We've currently developed a prototype and have done some animal model testing, and we're working with Dr. Michael Richard of the Duke Eye Center, who's the inventor of the design. We have done an extensive IP analysis and determined that this device is patentable. We're looking for $1 million startup funding, and our plan is to first introduce this product in the domestic market, followed by a launch in the emerging markets with a modified reusable design. I thank you for coming here today, and know that your investment could not only give you a great return, but also help millions of people worldwide who are suffering from blindness due to cataracts. Thank you.
Do you know what regulatory path you're going to follow?
Yeah, so we've actually done research on this, and this is only a Class 1 medical device as classified by the FDA, which will make the regulatory approval much easier because we will not have to do human clinical trials.
This is going to cut the eye, though.
Yeah, but it doesn't involve energy, so like things like a scalpel are considered Class 1. So since it doesn't use energy, and I've looked it up and under the ophthalmological products category, and it's Class 1.
How will you market it? How do you have an idea of how you would position this? Would you use a distributor or one of the major ophthalmological product supply companies?
So we hope as a startup company to originally hire our own sales force, but we hope to eventually be acquired by a larger medical device company because they already have those distribution pathways.
So your goal is to deliver it to a certain value inflection point and then sell it?
Correct.
And what would that point be? Do you have an idea of what that would be?
We're hoping to at least go about 5 years and hopefully introduce it to international markets on our own, and then by that time, about the 5th year, hopefully be acquired by a larger company.
Have you identified any sites internationally that you would want to work with?
Yeah, actually one of our members of our team is from India and has parents who are ophthalmologists in India. So we've contacted them about the hospitals where they work, and they've definitely demonstrated interest.
So the Aravind Eye Institute is in India, and I think they perform more cataract surgeries than anyone in the world right now. I don't know if you've talked to them or spoken to anyone there, but I think Duke even, I know Johns Hopkins for sure sends surgeons there to sort of train on cataract surgery. So I wonder if there might be a partnership there or someone that you should talk to.
We haven't looked into that, but I really appreciate that advice.
Sure.
Back to the patents. You've prepared, has a patent been prepared yet?
No, that's why we were here tonight looking for funding to help us. We've written what our claims would be, but we were looking for funding to hire a lawyer and get that process rolling.
Okay. So they've at least documented the invention and protected it. It makes me nervous to hear things like that.
Yeah.
And this is a public disclosure, I believe.
Right. I'm not positive that they've filed the provisional patent application, but we are on the way to do that.
And have you scoped out the total market size for the device?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, 20 million cataract surgeries are done each year in the United States, but also in the international market, there are so many people who live in small villages in India or China who don't really have access, and they have to wait until a couple times a year when one doctor will come and do hundreds of surgeries in a week. So we think that this device will enable surgeons with not as much training who currently lack the ability to do this operation. It will hopefully enable them to reach out to those smaller areas who are currently underserved.
Sure. What I was getting at is how many devices do you think you can sell? Because it's a reusable device, so it doesn't depend on how many surgeries there are so much as how big the market is for the device itself.
Yeah, we're just focusing mostly on our U.S. numbers, where it would be a disposable device in the U.S. And because we understand that in India and China, they aren't willing to pay for disposable one-time use devices, so that's something we're still looking into. We're currently focusing on the U.S. market. Thank you.
All right, everybody. So take a deep breath. Now is the point in the program where we have a break. Oh. Are you sure? It looks like we might have a special guest pitcher. Ladies and gentlemen, the Duke Blue Devil. Let's see what he's got. I suppose I have to read this for you. We got a triple bottom line focused venture through bleeding edge discovery and productization will revolutionize consumer apparel through performance vector leadership and will deliver win-win scenarios and high ROI to investors by providing free t-shirts. All right, up next is Immune Dispense Pro.
Hello, my name is Jamie Wilkie, and I'd like to talk to you about the Immunodispense Pro, a safe and reliable dry powder dispenser. For over 3 million Americans, a simple meal or snack can be a deadly activity. But why? Well, this population has a peanut allergy, and for them, peanut exposure can lead to anaphylaxis and death. Until now, there were no treatments which proved long-term effectiveness in desensitizing allergic patients to peanuts. However, in a new treatment, oral immunotherapy, patients build immunity to peanuts by taking increasing doses of peanut powder daily. Unfortunately, this process is labor-intensive and time-consuming. To solve these problems, leading researchers at Duke University developed the ImmunoDispense Pro, an automatic in-home powder dispenser, which eliminates most doctor visits, and the patient can be confident that they're receiving the correct powder dosage every day. Upon FDA approval of oral immunotherapy, the ImmunoDispense Pro is a necessary device for over 600,000 children in the United States with peanut allergies. This market can be easily expanded to the over 3 million adults with peanut allergies, and even further to those with milk and egg allergies. Because few have developed devices which meet our necessary safety specifications, our patent protection will be strong and prevent others from developing a similar device. However, our strongest competitor is the current paradigm, which encourages complete avoidance of allergens. We are prepared to battle the effects of this status quo through strong clinical results, effective advertising, and distribution through certified allergists. Finally, in order to cover our initial startup costs and final stages of research, we're asking for an investment of $1.5 million for a 40% share in the company. In 5 years, we're expecting a 23 times cash-on-cash return and 95% IRR. These impressive returns are attainable because the ImmunoDispense Pro will improve the lives of over 3 million Americans. Thank you for your time.
Do you have a prototype?
Yes, we do. We actually don't have a picture of it. How we kind of describe it is it looks like a coffee maker. It's designed to sit on your countertop. The peanut powder is housed in a top compartment, and then there's rotating funnels.
Now look, this is mandatory, so you're introducing increasing amounts of that to try to get an immune response to build it progressively, right? You don't want to do steps. How do you ensure compliance?
Right.
Let me tell you, kids are non-compliant, and patients often will lie rather than look like they didn't.
Right. So
keeping those things in mind, how do you?
Well, there's two things that we've thought about is that you can somehow, with technology, that you can somehow only allow the doctor to program the device, whether it's, you have to take in the device weekly, or if they can somehow transmit the correct dosage so that because it's an electronic system, you can either, the doctor, only has the password to input the correct dosage amount, or it's wired in if we're dealing with children.
Good, I know you thought about that before tonight, you wrote it down in the lab, and I'm glad. Because otherwise it would be public.
Right.
Has the FDA approved oral immunotherapy?
No, so they've gone through, Dr. Wesley Burks at the Duke Medical Center, they've gone through their first year of clinical trials, and they've seen efficacy in 20 to 30 children. And so they're going through their second round, and then Johns Hopkins and Mount Sinai are also going through clinical testing, so it's on its way towards FDA approval, but they're moving through those stages.
What kind of efficacy numbers do you know?
Well, children who were unable to even take a food challenge in the beginning of the trial, within 2 to 3 years are now able to consume 9 to 10 peanuts. So it's not meant as, these children can now eat peanut butter sandwiches, it's meant that they can live their lives and not be worried about their daily activities.
And how come there isn't a picture of the device? I can't see it.
We actually had a picture earlier, and it's in a lab right now, and so we weren't able to put it together for today. It's still in its final revision stages. It looks a little raw right now, so.
Can you tell us a little bit about the team?
Right. So it was designed by actually 4 undergrads, and then now we have another group of 4 undergrads working on the business plan, along with a master's in engineering management student, and then Dr. Wesley Burks in his lab is also on board, obviously because this is directly related to their research. Thank you.
Up next, Token Energy.
Energy conservation is something that we all care about, but have a hard time actually doing because we don't know how much energy we're using on a day-to-day basis, and we also often don't pay for it directly. Our software solves this problem by showing residents of a building exactly how much energy they're using in real time. Because this data is real time, residents can see how their behavior affects energy consumption and then take steps to reduce it. So, for example, if you flip on a light switch, you'll be able to see energy consumption go up immediately. Our software pulls data from smart meters and then displays it on LCD TVs, a website, and iPhone and Facebook apps. Our initial target market is university dorms because university residents are generally very passionate about the environment, so they're more likely to actually use our software, and because me and my team are university students ourselves, so we have a very strong understanding of the needs of the market and also how our software will be used. For example, we partner with environmentalist student groups to do competitions between dorms. Behind me is a slide that's currently being shown in 2 dorms at NC State that are using our software to compete for a cash prize to see who can reduce energy consumption the most. Our value proposition to the university, which is who's going to pay for this, is that we increase their green image, we help save the environment, and we save them money on their electricity bill. We have a strong team of students from NC State, the Masters of Engineering Management program, and the Smart Home here at Duke, and the Keenan Flagler Business School at UNC. We already have a prototype done at NC State. This spring we'll have prototypes at Duke and UNC, and we'll be looking for an initial investment of $200,000 at that time in order to have sustained growth into the national market. I hope that you'll consider funding us. Thank you for your time. Have a nice night.
So full disclosure, I'm an investor in a company called Silver Spring Networks, which is a smart meter company, and Google has a product called Power Meter. Yeah. So let me ask you about that and about Zensi. I don't know if you know a company called Zensi, which is doing real-time monitoring, and it's out of the MIT Media Lab. And so maybe you could just talk about kind of that competitive marketplace.
Yeah. I haven't heard about Zensi, but our primary competitor in the university space is a company called Lucid Design Group, and they have an energy dashboard that's similar to ours. Our design, we have one of the things that differentiates us is that half of our team is graphic designers from the NC State School of Design, and so we really focus on making the displays we use really easy to understand so that someone just walking by will be able to get a really good understanding of how their building is doing on energy consumption. The other thing we do is have really strong relationships with the universities, which is something that no other company does. They just install the product and then let the university manage it.
So shame is a very powerful factor. We've seen that just by solely showing people the amount of power they're using compared to their neighbors, that their power usage goes down if you tell them nothing but that. So I think you're onto something interesting. But what is your revenue model? So how will you sell it, and how much will you sell it for?
Basically, what we're going to do is, based on estimates that we're going to develop from our prototypes, we'll have a good idea of how much energy we'll be able to save the university in electricity bills, and then we'll charge them about 30% of that amount.
Have you talked to anyone at Duke about implementing it here?
Yes, so we're in talks right now with facilities and housing, and we're in pretty good shape to have it implemented by this spring. We're also talking to the Smart Home. We'll have it put in there, and we have a team at the Smart Home developing some new technologies for us too.
What's the kind of basic cost of the hardware from an install perspective?
If the universities have smart meters installed, which most universities are going to, really the only cost is hosting the software. If they do need smart meters, which is not something that we would provide, that can run up to several $1,000s per meter. But most universities are moving towards installing smart meters in order to have more accurate billing anyway.
So talk about Power Meter a little bit. How does it compete with or not compete with this?
With
Google's Power Meter?
Oh, okay. Well, Google's Power Meter is primarily aimed at the house market, at the residential house market. They have a pretty strong position just because of the Google brand, and I think I've seen their dashboard and it looks pretty easy to use too. They also partnered with the Energy Detective recently, which is a big threat to us because now that they have a combination of hardware and software.
I'll just point out it's free. It's free.
Yeah.
But it is not meant to compete with anyone in this marketplace. It's meant to encourage others to enter the marketplace. We don't want to be in that space.
Right. Thank you.
Up next, Medici Medical Technologies.
Of the 25 million people in the US that suffer from urinary incontinence, 300,000 are women that have sought and failed all currently available treatments. They've tried lifestyle changes, plugs, and invasive surgeries, all to no avail. Many have become prisoners in their own homes, afraid to go anywhere where the inability to control their bladder might expose them to ridicule and embarrassment. In spite of the staggering $20 billion spent each year in the US alone to treat urinary incontinence, there is still no device that provides these women with the convenience and control that they need. I'm Joe Knight, the founder of Medici Medical Technologies and a current Fuqua student. While I was a Biodesign Innovation Fellow at Stanford, I filed a patent and prototyped the proof of concept for a novel solution to treat urinary incontinence. The device relies on a system of valves to ensure that a short duration of high pressure, such as when coughing or sneezing, is not sustained long enough to open the valves and hence prevent any type of leakage. However, when the woman does want to go to the bathroom, she can essentially do so normally by controlling the pressure to open the valves in series. Current technologies to treat urinary incontinence require invasive surgery or multiple plug replacement daily. Medici's device involves nothing more than a 15-minute non-surgical outpatient procedure at the semi-annual checkup. With the team listed behind me, Medici is filing an SBIR grant to move from prototype to animal testing. We will seek a 510(k) approval as a regulatory pathway and have identified reimbursement codes which indicate a likely price point of $2,000 to $2,500 per patient per year. Initially focusing on the 300,000 women that have failed current treatments gives a primary market of $600 to $750 million. This is a huge pressing unmet clinical need, and Medici has the technology, the team, and the expertise to solve it. Join us in developing a solution to ensure that women can go when they want so that they can go where they want. Thank you.
So how do you avoid the phenomenon of bladder infection, which occurs when devices, of any type of devices, implanted in that area?
Absolutely, it's a crucially important question because anything that gets into the bladder can have, or anything that's in the urethra can have those type of problems. We actually have two separate devices to help address this. So one device is a daily use device that still maintains this type of valve system. And since it's removed each night, there's less contact with the urethra, so it should reduce the amount of type of infection. The second device, which is the long-term 6-month that I mostly spoke about, it sits in the mid-urethra. So one of the problems with most of the devices that are currently out there is that they're on the outside and they go into the urethra. And this acts as almost a super highway for bacteria to get into the urethra and cause these terrible type of infections.
So it would be mid-urethra?
Yes, our device sits in the mid-urethra, so there's nothing outside or inside.
And how do you secure this? Is there a ligature? Or how do you
So there's different anchoring mechanisms that secure it. One, there's a couple of different ways that we've done it and tested that they work. We'll have to go into, when we get into animal testing, to see which one is most effective in tissue, but maybe something with a conical shape that allows it to sit in place.
Would you test this outside the U.S. first, do you think?
I don't think, so the plan is, our strategic plan is to take the initial device, the daily device, which will be something that's actually inserted by the patient and removed. And I've actually had several patients that are like, let me try it. And of course we can't do that yet, but it's something that it should be relatively simple, so we should not have to go outside for the initial device, but once we get that device going and have revenue in 12 to 18 months for that, then we can start to look into the possibility of trials perhaps overseas.
That looks like it's either bad art or typical patent drawing.
This is a patent drawing. This is from our patent drawing.
It's filed?
Yes.
Any office action yet on that?
There is some different things that are going back and forth. We may end up having to split this up into 4 different patents because there's so much within the first patent that we did. We've since filed other patents to sort of create a strategic patent portfolio and just to protect the entire area around it.
What are the small molecule treatments that sort of pharmacological interventions that would compete with this?
So there's over, I think, $3.2 billion in pharmaceuticals that are used to treat urinary incontinence. But it's something that, there's a lot of different, I don't know the names of them off the top of my head, but it's something that the patients use, and sometimes they're effective and sometimes they're not. But we spend a huge amount of money on something that we don't really see a great result from.
Just a final question on the daily use device. I mean, not to be funny, but it sounds potentially painful. So how do you deal with compliance issues?
No, it's not painful at all. I mean, it's a simple insert. It's actually less invasive than current technologies that are out there that are used daily. Yep. Thank you.
All right, up next, Wasabi.
Hi, I'm Dan Sertner and this is Trevor Reagan, and we're the creators of Wasabi, an innovative sushi restaurant that looks to do to sushi what Subway did for the sandwich and Chipotle for the burrito. We recognize that healthy consumers with an on-the-go lifestyle are sick and tired of their typical salad and sandwich options, and that's where sushi comes in.
Exactly, but right now, sushi is extremely limited. You can go to a sit-down restaurant, it's going to be expensive and take a while, or you can eat that day-old sushi from a plastic box. Customers shouldn't be forced to choose either quality or convenience. Wasabi makes it easy. We provide both. Now we're able to do this by using the Have It Your Way ordering system used by Subway and Chipotle, two of the top franchises in the entire world.
Now you may have heard that the restaurant industry has an 80% rate of failure. So why are we so confident about Wasabi? First, we recognize that the fast casual sector is growing at a rate double that of the restaurant industry as a whole. Second, research shows that sources ranging from Business Week to Men's Health are touting sushi as the fastest growing food trend of our generation. But who's catering to that market? Wasabi is the first fully customizable and affordable restaurant option ever.
And hey, we're all sushi lovers, and that's why we're embarking on this venture. But we realize the key to our success is the quality and authenticity of our product. Now to ensure these two things, we've been in discussions with Philip Yi. He's the director of the Sushi Academy and runs a number of successful sushi restaurants in Los Angeles. With his expertise and our concept, we have the formula for the next great restaurant chain in the United States.
That's right, and that's where you come in. We're looking for a $200,000 investment as well as your expertise in the area of restaurant franchising. Our long-term goal is to franchise Wasabi, and we believe that with your help, we can put a Wasabi on every college campus across the nation.
We'd like to thank you for your time. If you like what you just heard, you're going to love this. There you go.
It's not as fresh. It went a little longer.
I'm curious about your whole inventory control here, because the key to great sushi is having really top-notch ingredients that are totally fresh. And how are you going to manage that whole demand system?
Exactly. We've been in contact with Sushi Love and Mount Fuji, two of the top sushi restaurants in the area, and we're going to use the same wholesale seafood provider as they do to ensure that we're getting the top quality product. They get the people that provide them with their seafood get it directly from Japan, where it's flash frozen and brought directly to the States. And so we're going to use the same product and therefore have the same quality as that restaurant.
So a franchise sushi restaurant is what we're talking about. Is that right?
Yeah.
So franchising is notoriously difficult. So how will you? Who will you seek out? I guess is the question as an advisor to help navigate that, because you wouldn't want to kind of go it alone through the franchising business.
Exactly. I mean, right now what we're trying to do is establish our concept as a successful model, and we believe it's going to be successful as a franchisable model because, one, the startup costs. As we said before, it costs about $180,000 to $200,000 to start one of these. If you're talking about franchising McDonald's, that's going to cost you upwards of $400,000 to $500,000. Subway, which is the most successful franchise chain, that's going to cost you about $200,000 to $225,000 to start. So right off the bat, it's a lower cost than the others. Second, the profit margins are a little higher. We're looking at profit margins of about 30%, which is a little higher than the industry average. So we think if we can prove that this model works, there's definitely going to be a demand for franchisers.
When I go into Chipotle, I order my burrito. It happens relatively quickly. So how can you, the creation of this is more intricate, and it seems like it will take longer. So can you just talk a little bit about how you speed it up?
We've done a number of time trials, and just us making it, we can make it in under 2 minutes. The average Subway sandwich takes exactly 2 minutes to make. We've been in contact with a number of people in the engineering department, and we've come up with a design of a sushi slicer and also a mechanism to put the rice on the seaweed. Everything's going to be simple. It goes rice, ingredient, 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 slice, and we're done.
Yeah, so basically, we can do it in 2 minutes already, and I think if we even do develop this additional equipment, which we don't even need to do because we're at the same speed as Subway, that will make it even quicker.
I have two questions. Are you going to have a somewhat limited number of options available, and have you actually done any kind of prototype testing of this anywhere?
Right now, we're focusing on having 7 of our signature rolls, but obviously each one can be customized. If someone doesn't want the cucumber, it's all up to them because it's all right there in front of them. So we're focusing on 7 rolls. And what was your other question?
Have you done any prototype testing any place? What kind of testing have you done about those?
Once a week, we have at least 10 people that we don't know over to our apartment. And
I mean, we're undergraduates here. We're still in school, so we're trying to develop this idea. Thank you very much.
All right, up next, the Produce Purity Project.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Fruth. I'm a first-year MBA student, and I'd like to tell you about the Produce Purity Project, a nonprofit bringing health and hope to the women of northern Afghanistan through chlorine. It's like Mr. Clean on a mission. So before business school, I co-founded an education and community development nonprofit in Afghanistan. And pictured here is Najibah, one of my star students. Now, she's bright, smart, quick. She wants to be a doctor. And she was a joy to have in class when she could come. But unfortunately, she would often be forced to stay home with one of her sick younger siblings. And her story's not unique. Only 15% of Afghans have access to safe drinking water and adequate sanitation facilities. And Afghanistan ranks 3rd in the world in infant mortality rates. 1 in every 4 children born dies before the age of 5. And diarrhea is the leading cause of death. Now, using diluted chlorine bleach to purify water and clean produce has been proven effective in Afghanistan to reduce diarrhea by up to 60%. And these products are on the market today, but they're not being used or they're misused, often doing more harm than good. The Produce Purity Project will be the first venture of its kind in northern Afghanistan, teaching women how to protect their families against diarrheal disease by using chlorine, and teaching them to train other women to do the same, starting small businesses and encouraging that entrepreneurial growth. The project team consists of myself, another MBA student who is a former nonprofit consultant, and 8 men and women currently on the ground in Afghanistan. We're seeking $10,000 in initial funding, but even tonight you could make a huge difference. $250 from the audience vote tonight could provide enough chlorine to protect 100 Afghan families for a year, and we have the people on the ground to do that. So I ask you to join with me in saving lives in Afghanistan. Thank you.
So is this a for-profit venture or a nonprofit sort of social enterprise?
This is a nonprofit social enterprise.
So I guess just the cost, so just doing the quick math of what you said, 250 is 100 families. So if you can just talk a little bit about the process of what it is that is getting into the family's hands. It's $2.50 each?
Mm-hmm. So these chlorine products do exist even within the country today. One of the problems is we can't get more things into the country, so we have to use what's already there. There are bottles, approximately 12 ounces, where that will be able to protect a family for up to 6 weeks. One of those bottles costs $0.25. So based on, there's variables with the average size of the family and the amount that they would use for water consumption, but it's a very, very low cost. And these products even are affordable for even very poor families there. They're there and they're almost a commodity item. They're just not being used. And the people that are using them, they're misusing them. They don't know what to do with them. So there's a huge need.
So you're providing knowledge.
We're providing knowledge and the product as well. We hope
and
to.
the product.
Well, yeah, we're hoping to secure a large amount of the product in the country and be able to use that so that the women could be the sellers and the distributors within their own communities.
So how many families do you think you've given this knowledge to, and of them, can you look back and say, yeah, they still continue to do this, they get it, They value it? They're
This
sticking with
is something that we haven't started yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were already
yeah.
had done something.
No, I was an educator and community developer and came back this spring, and now want to kind of switch gears and go forward, hopefully, with this project.
What NGOs have you talked to or worked with to look for funding or advice? I imagine there's someone that sort of attempted something similar in the space.
In this space, you're correct. USAID did do a similar project in 2005 in central and western Afghanistan, but then they stopped doing this and have moved on to other things. But nothing like this, to my knowledge and to the knowledge of my colleagues, has been attempted in northern Afghanistan, where I was located and where my connections and where my team is.
Do you know why they stopped?
I don't know exactly. That's definitely one of the next questions to be answered for sure.
And I think the forward compliance rate would be interesting to know as well if they stop. I think like mosquito nets, can prevent malaria, but the problem is that often people use them for fishing or other purposes because they don't really see the sort of utility of it because it's sort of invisible. So I sort of wonder how much forward compliance you'd get.
Sure, and I definitely see the same potential of this problem here. Like you were saying, Bill, I mean, Afghanistan is one of those places that's still in the 15th century, and so getting people over there to get them that next step, we just want to be a part of that process.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, guys, it's our last pitch. Biogenic medical devices. Hi, everyone. My name's Garrett Muramoto. I'm a first-year MBA student here at Duke. But prior to joining the Fuqua School of Business, I actually did cellular therapy research for 5 years here at Duke. I want to talk to you tonight about an exciting venture we've been working on called biogenic medical devices. Every year, 500,000 patients will receive metal stents for cardiovascular disease to reopen their blocked blood vessels. However, within just 1 year, up to 25% of these stents will fail as a result of the body's immune system attacking the metal that these stents are made of. Biogenic medical devices utilizes cell seeding technology, which takes the patient's own cells derived from a simple sample of blood and coats them onto the inside of the stent. By coating the inside of the stent with the patient's own cells, we create a more biocompatible medical device, and we reduce the risk of serious health complications, including heart attack, stroke, and death. We like to think of cell seeding technology as providing camouflage for stents, and our initial data indicates that cell seeding technology can reduce the initiation of blood clots by up to 10,000-fold. This technology has received a $1 million challenge grant from the NIH, receiving the highest score possible, which demonstrates the scientific validity of the technology. And we believe that cell seeding technology has the ability to revolutionize the way that medical devices are deployed. As you can see, we're working with an incredible team of people from the Duke University Medical Center, the Pratt School of Engineering, and the Fuqua School of Business. And we filed a provisional patent to cover a lot of the intellectual property for cell seeding. We're currently focused on a $750 million market in nitinol self-expanding stents, and we're looking to raise $350,000 to fund the prototyping of our stent catheter delivery system and to begin in vivo animal trials with stents. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about cell seeding technology, and I'd love to set up an appointment with you guys to talk about the opportunities that are available with biogenic medical devices. Thank you.
What are the goals of the challenge grant? The primary goals of that? Give us an idea of what your development targets are.
Right. So it's basically to coat titanium medical devices with endothelial cells, the normal cells in the blood vessels, to reduce thrombosis and restenosis, so blood clotting.
So the goal will be to show that in an animal model?
Right. So it's a porcine model that we're currently working on.
It's poor pigs.
Yeah. Right.
Is titanium you're coating, and not? How about other polymers?
We're currently focused on titanium because there seems to be some affinity between the endothelial cells and titanium. But we're certainly, as you know, there's lots of different coatings for stents, and we're looking at some of those options as well. But currently focused on titanium because it allows us to rule out some of the other intellectual property that's out there.
Is this strictly an intravascular application? Or are you looking at like joint repairs and other device to tissue connections? I'm not sure. You're trying to reduce adhesions and inflammation, right?
Right. Yeah, so focused on intravascular devices at this point.
What work do you know, if any, that J&J or Boston Scientific or others are sort of might be doing in the same field?
Nothing that I know of in the same field. There's some research that was done in South Africa and Vienna looking at endothelializing bypass grafts, PTFE grafts for peripheral vascular disease. However, that requires a painful and invasive collection of blood vessels. So the novelty here is that the cells are derived from blood because there's circulating endothelial progenitors in the blood.
So you're looking at like the infusion market or the arterial grafting market?
Well, so we're currently focused on stenting because that's kind of the biggest market for intravascular devices at this point. But we're certainly open to options in heart pumps, stenting,
dialysis.
Heart valves, dialysis grafts, right? You name it. We're just kind of focused right now on nitinol and stenting.
Have you done any proof of concept on anything other than titanium?
No, not yet. Thank you very much.
All right, guys, let's give a big, loud round of applause to all of our pitchers. Amazing. We didn't even get to use this stop sign. They were that good. It's time to do the judging, and I'd like to turn the mic back over to Stephen Powell for that.
Thanks, Dan. So we're in the home stretch here. So I'm actually going to ask our judges to head outside. Dan's going to escort you outside with Soji for the final deliberation. I think they don't want to leave the sushi. It was so good. So as our judges make their way outside to make the final decision, this is your turn to make a decision as well. It's audience voting time. So please take out your cell phones. And here's how the audience voting works. So it's basically exactly like American Idol, although I've actually never voted for American Idol. But here's how it works. There's a number at the top that you need to text one of the codes to. So send a text message to 99503. And then the content of the text message is going to be one of these numbers associated with the pitches tonight. And choose wisely because you can only vote once using your cell phone. It'll only allow one number. So we give you all a couple minutes to do that. All right, folks. The other thing I'm just going to ask you to do is continue discussing these difficult choices amongst yourselves as you're voting. The other thing I'm going to ask you to do is on each of your packets that were left on your chairs, there's a audience feedback form. So just like the judges have been giving the pitchers feedback, we're always looking to improve here. So please do fill that out. And then at the end of the night, you can just leave it on your chair and we'll pick it up on the way out. So please take a minute or two to give us some feedback on the night. Thanks. All right, folks. Audience voting is complete. And our judges are making their way back into the auditorium. They've made a decision as well. So before we hear the judge's choice and the audience choice, just want to make a quick pitch. If anybody's been inspired tonight to explore entrepreneurship, try it out while you're here at Duke as a student, please do consider participating in the executive summary competition. It's coming up in January. You can find out more information on our website. And then before I'm gonna hand it over to the judges in a second, but I just want to acknowledge that putting on a competition and an event of this scale it's a huge undertaking, and it really only happened because of the work of all these people. I mean, you can see the number of names up on this screen. There's just a ton of work that's gone into it, whether it's been marketing the event, helping teams develop and find people to develop their ideas, reaching out to alumni to get them re-engaged, Really, there's just a ton of work that's gone into this. And so rather than read off the names, I just want anyone in the room that was involved in organizing this competition, just please stand up. So thanks everyone for making this happen. There's two other people that I just want to quickly mention, just have a special thanks to. One is Dan Weinstein, he's our events lead. Dan has just done an amazing job running and planning this event. He's kind of been my partner in crime for the last couple of months, and it's been a lot of fun. So please, just a special round of applause for Dan. And then just a final special thanks to Howie Rhee. So Howie Rhee is, he's the managing director of the Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation here at Fuqua. And he's one of the advisors, faculty advisors of the Duke Startup Challenge. And frankly, Howie is really at the center of so many of the entrepreneurial activities that are happening at Duke just in general. And he's been, frankly, a hell of a lot more than an advisor for us. He's been on the ground helping us get stuff done. He's amazing. And so if you are interested in entrepreneurship, you should know Howie. So just a special thanks for Howie. All right, folks, so thank you so much for hanging in with us. I know we're running a little bit late, but at this point, I'm going to ask the judges actually to come up on stage. And they're going to provide just a few general comments on the night. And the reason we're doing that is because we're plugging in the winners into the slide deck right now. So I'll hand over the mic to them.
So I go to a lot of these, mostly in Silicon Valley, but all over the place. And would be not honest of me to say anything other than this is probably the single best one that I've ever participated in. So, I think you all have a lot to be proud of. It was very difficult to choose. There were a lot of sort of startup ideas that are worth pursuing, and some of these things can actually be, if you ever been to them, can be interminable. They can be difficult. But from the beginning of my engagement in the process to getting here, everyone has been incredibly nice, and it sort of reminds me why I came to Duke in the first place. So I really appreciate it, and I think just because we had to pick a winner doesn't mean that the others are losers. Actually, there's a lot of ideas worth pursuing. So congratulations, guys.
So I second what Bill said. Great presentations this evening. I've got the internet background, so the pitch that I gave during the IT and media session was really the notion of pitch to prototype in 90 days. And at least for the guys who have kind of the software, the internet idea, the ability to actually create a prototype and have people experience your product in 90 days is possible today with the tool sets that exist, cloud computing, the smart engineers. And so as you think about an idea, and even the folks that may not win this evening, there's still many good ideas out there that you can actually go out and create that prototype. And from a fundraising perspective, most of what is being funded today, at least within the internet space, has a product that is live, at least within an alpha or beta perspective. So that's just a food for thought for getting a prototype built in 90 days. Thanks.
I've had the good fortune of judging many business case competitions. This was my first elevator pitch competition, and I was absolutely blown away. I had no idea what to expect when I came in here, and I come out so extremely impressed with the quality of the thought that went into these startups, with the quality of the presentations. And if anybody ever has any doubt about the future of this world, all you have to do is be here tonight and see what the future leaders are going to be. I am so honored to be here, and it was such a tough choice. You are all winners in my book.
You know, I'll admit it, I'm a serial entrepreneur, I suppose. It's an addiction, but it's a feeling you get, it's sort of an intuition you develop over the years. And it gets sparked by certain things that you hear and sense, and I certainly got a full dose of it tonight. It was really remarkable. These were very well done. I know when I go home tonight, I'm going to go through the door, and before I open my mouth, my wife's going to say, I'm glad you had a great time, and no, you can't start another one. Because I certainly get that feeling here tonight, so well done, bravo. Earlier, Bill got into this, and I want to reiterate probably the most important thing, advice that I can give you is, I'm going to talk about markets, not even patents, which I'm wont to do. John and Howie will tell you, but I'm going to talk to you about probably the most important thing that I think you can focus on, and that's just the perseverance. And again, there is a difference between that and stubbornness, quite true, and very profoundly so. You'll discover that as well along the way. But when things go wrong and blow up, sometimes I've learned, having done this too many times, it's often a good thing. Because when it blows up and you fix it, there's a couple things happen. You feel its gut, and you know it really well like you never knew before, and you usually have to do something creative to solve it, something inobvious. And that's the innovation. That shows that you made your creative contribution, and it's certainly the value that you try to carry forward in your venture, you know, to the markets and beyond. So, well done. Thanks very much for a very enjoyable evening.
How about a round of applause for the judges? Thank you guys so much for being friends of Duke. We really appreciate it. Now it's time to find out who won. Well, let's get right into it. We'll start with the audience choice. And the winner is the Produce Purity Project. I'm also very pleased to announce that Bill has generously offered to donate $500 to the Produce Purity Project on behalf of Google. So thank you very much. Yeah, all right, so a quick photo up.
It didn't seem fair that you're going up against all these cold-hearted capitalists, so it's sort of a different kind of organization than the others, so we're happy to help you.
Okay. Let's do a quick photo op with Mr. Blue Devil. And all the judges, please. All the judges, please. Everybody. Judges, you guys. Great job. And now, just so you can see, here's how you all voted. All right. Before we announce the judge's choice winner, I just want to, there's no prize for it, but I thought we should congratulate the second place and the third place in the judge's choice. So in third place, National Field. Congratulations. In second place, Immunodispense Pro. And our big winner, the judge's first pick, is Biogenic Medical Devices. Come on up. Another photo up.
right, folks, just one more round of applause for all of our winners tonight. And another round of applause for everyone that competed tonight. It's not easy getting up in front of an audience, doing that. You guys did a great job. So that's our show. It's a wrap, and we hope to see you at the Executive Summary Competition. Have a good night.